Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on The Merchant of Venice, and we get to hear from Shylock again today in Act 4, Scene 1. Remember, this is the scene where Antonio is now on trial because he is unable to pay back Shylock the money that he owes him. But there's a lot of animosity that goes back a very long way between Antonio and Shylock. And Shylock is just sort of basically hated by everyone because he's Jewish and they don't like him. But they also don't like the fact that he lends money and charges interest on it, which may have been illegal at the time. So there's a lot of animosity, and Shylock is at the point where he doesn't care that he's demanding this pound of flesh from Antonio, and that might seem inhumane. He still wants that pound of flesh, and he would rather have that pound of flesh than get the money that could be repaid to him. So we had a monologue yesterday from Antonio where he was like, it's really not even worth trying to argue with Shylock. Talking to him is like telling trees not to blow in the wind, that sort of thing. It's not going to get anywhere. And Bassanio's like, here's 6,000 ducats, which is twice what you're owed. And Shylock is like, turn each of those 6,000 into 6 and then those into 6, and I still would rather have Antonio's flesh. And the Duke is like, how do you expect anybody to extend mercy to you if you don't show any mercy towards anyone else? And Shylock says, what judgment shall I dread, doing no wrong? You have among you many a purchased slave, which, like your asses and your dogs and mules, you use in abject and in slavish parts, because you bought them. Shall I say to you, let them be free, marry them to your heirs? Why sweat they under burthens? Let their beds be made as soft as yours, and let their palates be seasoned with such viands. You will answer, the slaves are ours. So do I answer you. The pound of flesh which I demand of him is dearly bought. 'Tis mine, and I will have it. If you deny me, fie upon your law. There is no force in the degrees of Venice. I stand for judgment. Answer, shall I have it? So, not only do we have racism in this play, we're now bringing up, or anti-Semitism, we're now bringing racism into this play. And I'm not saying that Antonio and Bassanio and the Duke and all that sort of thing are great people because they're slave owners. But this is turning into a case of you do really horrible things, so that makes it okay for me to do really horrible things, which is hitting a little low, I think, for Shylock. But it does harken back to the speech that he made earlier about the, if you prick us, do we not bleed? And if you wrong us, shall we not revenge? Where he pulled out the, I learned this by watching you kind of a thing. He's pointing out to these people watching the trial that they own other people and treat them horribly, treat them as bad as the animals that they own with as little respect and that sort of a thing. And he's like, it's not my place to tell you what to do with your slaves and to treat them better. So why is it your place to tell me what to do with this pound of flesh of Antonio's that I have purchased? I lent him 3,000 ducats. He signed the papers saying I could have a pound of his flesh if he couldn't give me the 3,000 ducats back, and he can't. So this is mine. And if you don't give me this pound of flesh, then all laws in Venice become like null and void, because everybody will know that you're not upholding the law that you yourself put in place. So tell me, are you going to void all the Venetian laws, or are you going to give me my pound of flesh? Make your judgment. And the Duke is like, well, I mean, I've sort of consulted this doctor, Bellario, who is going to maybe be sending us some notes or possibly even coming. And if you remember, which you might not because I've gotten the name mixed up a couple of times, all these Italian names that start with B's and ends with O's, or S's that are different names at different points in the script, whatever. the doctor or the lawyer, they call him doctor probably because he would have gotten the equivalent of a Juris Doctorate, but he is actually a lawyer. This is the same lawyer that Portia had written to, who was going to send her some notes and maybe some clothes, which she was going to get on a boat with to go to Venice. Do you see where this is going? Really? Can you tell me you can see that this is where this is going? So the Duke is like, well, I've consulted him to see what actually has to happen, and we should be hearing from him soon. And almost like clockwork, Nerissa walks in, dressed as a man, as a law clerk, with a letter from this lawyer, who's Portia. Portia is going to come in dressed as this lawyer in time for tomorrow's monologue. So I'll see you then for that. Mwah.